What is up, you guys? I am International Passport. Welcome, welcome. Um, Thank you for joining the live stream. Thank you to everyone who participated in the stream yesterday. Very insightful. I am International Passport. I have a very special guest here with me, called Jack the flipping heck, got called Jack the janitor, who will be giving us intel regarding his time in South Korea, South Korean woman, what brothers need to do before traveling to South Korea. So in the meantime, guys, hit the like button. Welcome everyone. Shout out to my new subscribers and shout out to my old subscribers. So Jack, welcome. Can you please introduce yourself very briefly, Jack? So what you do, where you live. We'll start from there on. Go on, mate.
Uh, I'm Jack. I'm in the technology industry. Um, in my early to late thought, I'm in my 30s. Black, Caribbean, just like everybody else. I jumped on the whole let's leave the UK thing because I've seen the same problems everyone's discussing. Uh, I saw it too, and I decided, hey, I want to explore the world, and that's what I did. I jumped on left, so I'd mostly do the whole nomad thing. I'm currently in the United States, but I have plans to go back to South Korea probably this summer. Depends on how this whole pandemic thing plays out, but I'll go back uh, this year for sure.
Awesome. So initially, you're from the UK. You said that you left the UK based on what you were seeing. Can you please describe specifically what you didn't like about the UK and what made you leave the UK specifically?
Yeah, so I got into the whole men's rights thing at the beginning. Back in the late 90s, there was a site that's still up now, like thebacklash.com, and it's just a bunch of white American guys complaining about what feminism and all this stuff has done. And I'm like a teenager, not really sort of, I see what they're talking about, but I can't relate because I'm like 13, 14, you know? But as I go to university, as I start dating, I see the exact same things everyone else was talking about. The women are unreasonable. The government just gives a middle finger to everyone. The prices in London are just rising so high. It's making it unbearable to start a family or even just have an active life because you don't have any disposable income. So some point when I got my first real job in my early 20s, I picked a country that was Korea, and I said I'm gonna put myself in a position where I can go there one day. And since my early 20s, I've been going there every year until I lived there for quite a bit, maybe 5 years. And now I've gone back to going back and forth between it.
Okay, so after university, you got a job. Did you get a Actually, let's talk about how you got to South Korea in the first place. Was it a job transfer at first, or was it a holiday at first? You liked it, and then you decided to live there for a bit. So, your first time you went to Korea, how did you go about it?
The first time was on holiday. I got my 2 weeks holiday. They said I got 14 days, and I decided I was playing a lot of video games like Lineage 2, Maple Story, these kind of things, and they're predominantly made in South Korea. I'm not sure if you guys know that. So when it came time to picking a country, I said, okay, I'm gonna go there and maybe I can work for NC Soft, like that's the big company at the time that made those kind of games, and I was in the games industry. So I tried that. I did that for 2 weeks. I also traveled to Japan a little bit, but settled on Korea. Kind of liked it, and so I was like, tried to plan my way there. Went through the whole visa thing, and that was pretty eye-opening. Effectively, the only way you're really gonna realistically gonna get a visa is to either be an English teacher, or if you're under 30, you can apply for a working holiday visa that lasts 1 year, and you can I think 1 year, and then you can renew it again. If you're over 30, you're shit out of luck. But if you're under 30 and you're from a OECD country, you can apply for a working holiday visa that will give you residency for the your time there. But you can't renew it the second time. After that, you get into the boat just like the rest of us, where you're effectively only gonna get an English teacher visa. Me, I tried the whole English teaching thing. That wasn't for me. Didn't particularly like it. So uh, I the first 6 months I just became a student. I had like 20 grand saved up that I could blow. I enrolled in a university and I was working from home. And for 6 months I was just doing that until I lost my job and had to deal with all that. But I stayed in Korea and then managed to switch from a student visa, which was pretty easy to get. Anyone can get one of those. Um, uh, you'll come into a couple of hurdles. They don't like giving foreigners a visa in general, but I managed to find someone that were that they had specific needs in technology, and so they're willing to go through that whole process, which was they make it very clear that uh, they are career first in their whole process.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Okay. So that was the first time you went to South Korea. So living there for 4 years, you mentioned that you lived there for 4 years. You were 2 years self-employed. Can you please go more into depth in that? So how you lived there for 4 years, what was the whole process to live there for 4 years, and what jobs you were working during that 4 years?
So about 6 months in, I'm studying and I'm working my London job remotely, right? So that's
Yeah.
all just remotely. Think of just like think of something that you do in the IT industry that you can be do remotely. I was doing that.
Hold on. What were you studying?
Oh, I was studying Korean.
Okay.
I decided to do that, which was like 3 hours a day at a university.
So hold on. So you went to Korea for holiday. You somehow got a student visa. You stayed there, studied Korean.
Yeah.
That allowed you to work from Korea, but you were still doing your London job. The time difference, how did that work for you? Because I'm pretty sure. How did that work for you?
You gotta deal with it, man. Sleeping 4 hours, no one cares. So that's pretty much it. So I'm meeting my Korean friends at random times during the day and night. I'm skiving off work randomly so I can go hang out with buddies. I'm like doing my homework randomly while I'm working. I'm just shooting the shit and living life and sleeping 4 hour nights. That was the
Okay,
first 6 months.
I see. And yeah, so carry on with the. So after 6 months, you came back to the UK, right?
No, so after the 6 months, that company went under. They were sold to another company, and so I blew through my savings within like 6 months. I'm like struggling to find a job. I'm seeing firsthand the hard way that you as a foreigner are not going to get a non-English teaching job. I learned that the hard way. So 10 grand down the hole, 6 months failing doing that. At some point, I started making money on YouTube actually. I made a YouTube channel after 6 months that had nothing to do with any of this. It was just a top 10 list channel and just 10-minute videos doing top 10 lists in Korean. Because I noticed there was a niche there to be made money. There wasn't any content at the time for Koreans. So I was just produce these videos. I hired a Korean guy and we just made this money and we just made these videos and split the money between us. And that was enough to keep me afloat for another year. And at this point, I'm still studying and just living my life with friends, just chilling out. Uh, but for the visa, at that point, I was doing the visa hopping thing. I'm not sure if you've heard of that.
No.
Um, Effectively, East Asia, whatever the rules say is what they'll follow. They don't try to go beyond it. So the rules say that you're allowed 3 months in the country on a 90-day visa. After that, you have to leave, but you can renew it by coming back in. So what I was doing was just like a lot of people do, just taking a 2 week vacation in the Philippines or Vietnam or Japan, wherever. Come back in, you get your 90-day stamp again. So I had an apartment that was rented and paid for like a year, but then I just leave and come back to renew the visa. So that was my first year after that. I was just doing that back and forth. It wasn't until sometime in the second year or third year, sometime around there, I met someone that needed me to do a specific programming task, and so they were willing to do the whole visa thing for me, and we did it. It was things like Uh, you have to show the government through documents. You can't try and forge it because they will check that you were trying to hire Koreans for at least 90 days before you attempt hiring a foreigner. You then have to show the government that you have at least 5 Korean workers employed full time and they're being paid a certain wage, and that will entitle you to hire one foreigner, and the minimum salary for that person has to be 40 grand a year. Once you've done that, um,
Is that in US dollars or Korean dollars?
that's in Korean won, so 40 million won at the time, which is
Okay.
roughly $40,000 at the time. Once we did that, there was an inspector. He came, he checked out the business, checked it if it was real. The government gave us a letter saying, "Okay, we believe you. You did it." Um, you then, so all countries, when it comes to visas, you're not allowed to apply for a residential visa while you're on holiday on the 90-day one. That's for all countries. Most of them don't allow you to switch visas, except with the exception of like refugee. So I had to leave, go back to the UK, go to the Korean embassy in the UK, do the whole thing there, get a background check, or get multiple background checks, health checks, multiple STD checks, tuberculosis shots, all of that jazz, pay for that, and then I came back and I got my visa to stay there long term, working for my friend.
And that was for 4 years, right?
Yeah, that was for the remaining time, another 4 years. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. You said you were also self-employed. How was that? Was that a good experience for you?
Oh, that's awesome, dude. If you can live in East Asia, it's like the perfect place for uh, it's like the perfect place for working independently with a well-maintained country and a structured culture. You avoid all the bullshit that comes with the culture, and you can benefit from everything that's going on. It's very cheap. Everyone's relatively friendly, even if they hate you. Um, it's like there's little downsides to it. Um, so I loved it. It was great. Far better than America, anyway.
Awesome,
In that regard, like, just in that regard.
awesome. So, you speaking about moving to South Korea really puts a spotlight, in the UK. So me and a guy called Thomas Demer here now from the UK, and we're tired of the women here. We're tired of how things are running, how it's so hard to just find a reasonable woman to date. So I want to pivot then to South Korean women. Um, what is the difference? What is the difference between London woman and South Korean woman?
They're sane. They make sense. Like, do I really like seriously? Like, London is so screwed. It's so backwards. It's like some kind of pseudo matriarchy going on where the women prioritize sex over everything else. Like, it's really upside down world. If if you're a guy that just wants to get your cookies from a woman, London's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Get in shape, jump on a social media app, and you can lay it down as much as you want. But if you're trying to look for a fulfilling relationship, um, you're kind of screwed. The women's demands are just they're just upside down. They don't make any sense to anyone but themselves. But here in East Asia, generally, I'm going to keep saying East Asia because all of the East Asian countries are generally like this. So that's China, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. They're all very similar. And in Korea, the women actually make sense because it's still very patriarchal, but there comes a lot of downsides that you have to be aware of when you get into a relationship or if you're just dating. And
Okay.
that applies to Korean men and you. So if you think it's going to be a free ride to just date the women because they're now feminine, no, there's a lot of stuff on the back end that they demand.
And what is that specifically? Tell us.
So very quickly you'll start noticing that they seem very needy. Um, my Korean friend, we often say that if you make love to her 3 times, that's your girlfriend, because they're still rational out there. They realize that once they've done the deed with you, they need to get something out of you. So they're not going to do this whole we're friends with benefits for a year. No, after 3 times, she will pressure you into being her boyfriend. That's just a given. Um,
Damn. Okay,
yeah, that,
so oh, carry on. Sorry, carry on.
and like even thing like again, it's very patriarchal. The country is very patriarchal, but also like generally speaking for humans, but also they're very filial piety is a thing. So respecting your father and sort of the authority of men, and that applies to dating. So I'll split the women up into two categories. You'll have the Korean the Koreans that are influenced by American culture and the Koreans that are just 100% Korean and they accept their culture, right?
Hmm.
If you date one that is 100% Korean and you go on a date with her, you are going to pay. There's no discussion about this. You're effectively emulating what's going to happen when you get married, so you're going to pay. But when the date's finished, she's going to offer to take you to a coffee shop, an ice cream place, or something, and she's paying for that. So you're gonna pay for the meal, like $30 or something, to go to a chicken place, and then she's gonna pay $10 to go coffee. And that's generally how the whole thing's gonna work. Because when it comes to flirting, no one cares. Flirting, especially if you're not used to it, you can easily come here thinking that every Korean girl is into you because they don't value flirting here. So the women will flirt with you. But what tells you whether or not they're going to do the deed is if they physically go on a date. If they're on that date with you, the, it's all good. Like you're going to get laid as long as you don't say anything stupid.
I see. Interesting. So you said there's the hip hop, there's the Americanized Korean woman, and there's the 100% Korean woman. Out of those two, which ones check for brothers the most?
Oh, the American ones, the Americanized ones. Like
Okay.
you have to think like you have to think why they you have to think why they attracted to you, right? And generally it's because in my this is just my opinion. I don't have any I ain't got any facts on this. It's generally because there's parts of their own culture that they don't like, and the whole idea is they get with you and they don't have to deal with it.
Hmm.
It's really as simple as that. It's well, of course, in that there's also the chocolate chasers, the bunny hoppers. Like, of course, those women exist, right? But generally speaking, when they get with you as a foreigner, part of the unspoken deal is you're not going to hold them to the same customs that they would if they were to date a Korean guy, because it can be a bit overbearing. Korean culture is pretty brutal.
Okay. Thanks for the intel so far, Jack. Before I carry on, guys, we got 56 people here in this live stream. Can you please hit the like button? If you've just joined the stream, if you've not liked the video yet, please hit the like button. Get me up to 50 likes. I would appreciate your support. Please get the likes up. So, would you say South Korean women are checking for brothers, Jack?
Um, yeah, I'd say they're open to foreigners. They're pretty open to foreigners. But your biggest hurdle, like this is just my opinion and my advice. When you come to East Asia, remove the word race, racism, and feminism from your lexicon. They're not needed here.
Okay.
They will make the distinction between different blacks. They will make the distinction between different whites. They will make the distinction between all cultures. So if you're I hate to say it, but if you're an African dude, it's gonna be really rough, especially if you have a thick accent. Once they hear it, they think asylum seeker and they run. Um, Once they hear an English accent, they're like, oh, this person's probably African American. He probably has a degree and a decent job, and they think those kind of stereotypes. But yeah, you'll be fine dating as long as you understand the culture and you you're not too sexually aggressive. You don't need to be sexually aggressive in East Asia. They're very I don't want to say passive. They save face a lot, so you don't need to be overly sexually aggressive. Um, they're pretty slow at that.
So you're saying Black American men and Black English men would do well the most in South Korea.
Of all the foreign groups, it will probably be a white guy, um, Northern European, like German or something.
Mm.
It's also remember, like, there's not enough foreigners, so the few foreigners that come to the country screw it up for the rest when they do something stupid. So for example, I can't tell you how many Korean co-workers and just Koreans I've met that have said very negative things about French men. They don't want their female friends dating French guys because apparently a lot of French guys are just doing the deed, running through them, and then moving on to the next. So they have a pretty bad reputation.
So, but for Black people, would you say when it comes to Black people, Korean women are more into Black American men and Black English men, particularly Black English men, because I find that most foreign women don't really think that a Black English man exists. So, when you were in South Korea, what was your experience with them? You know, when they heard that you were from London.
Oh yeah, it threw them off. It throws them for a loop. Their minds can't handle it. They're like, wait, what? Wait, you've got dreads and you're speaking with an English accent? You're black? Wait, what? And I'm dark skinned, by the way. I'm not like white. So in the back of their mind, there's no, oh, he's got European DNA. It's like, no, he's full he's full black, and it throws them for a loop. You can see it on their face that they're just kind of confused. But I'd say, yeah, if you've got a full English accent or an American accent, you'll do much better. Um, much better, especially if you understand the culture a little bit, um, and navigate a few things because you're not a threat. It's not like some other countries that you'll go to where they'll see you and immediately class you as a threat. Over there, you're really not a threat. You're not a threat economically, so the men don't kind of care. The chances of you getting a job that what their son could do is unlikely. You're not really a threat sexually because generally, and this is just generally speaking, a lot of foreigners they don't understand their beauty standards. So the women that you think are beautiful, they think are average or ugly. So if you think Lucy Liu or Constance Wu or I don't know, some like Asa Akira or something is a 9 out of 10, they think that's a four. To them, those women are all fours. They have very strict beauty standards, and it might be possible that you don't find the women that they think are attractive, and that's usually the case. So you're not really a threat. So there's a lot of advantages for you when going there. The disadvantages are mostly economic. So you need to be set up with your own thing outside of the country. Ideally, you can get a job for the big companies. I have met Indian guys, Indonesian guys, and Chinese guys that worked for Samsung, KT, a couple gas companies like that. They were brought over as specialists, and the government gave them specific visas. But that's very rare. Chances are most of us aren't ever going to get that. Like I'm in the tech industry, and even I don't qualify for those visas. Um, so yeah.
Okay. Um, I want to come back to your personal experience. In your time in Korea, how did Korean women treat you specifically? How many Korean women did you date? And would you say the women you were with were eights, nines, and tens?
So I had one long-term relationship. Um, I'd say Korean
Sorry, were you in Seoul or Busan?
Seoul.
Okay, sorry, yeah, carry on.
So I was mostly in Seoul. I lived just on the outskirts for like a year at some point. Kind of like living in Kent. Um, I was with my girlfriend for about a year and a half, and then dating. I'd go on. It depended on the time, but I'd go on dates maybe every week, every couple weeks. I didn't really have an issue, and I'm 6 foot, overweight, dark skin with dreads. So I mean, honestly speaking, like it's really your personality. There are some women that they have no interest in a foreigner because there's all sorts of negative cultural things related to that, and they don't want to deal with it. But generally speaking, I didn't have any problem. I only dated one girl that was a Korean nine for like 2 weeks, and it was fucking hell. It was just hell. She was crazy, but also I just didn't want to deal with Korean people, man. Like, again, walking around with her. Imagine walking around London, right? Being an overweight black guy, going to Warwick or somewhere or Cambridge with a beautiful 10 out of 10 white English woman. Like, some white people are they're gonna lose their shit. They're gonna look at you thinking, what the fuck? How is he with her? They're gonna start back talking, backbiting. They're gonna whisper. They're gonna find out who her family is and tell her family, "Hey, do you know your daughter's dating him?" And that's what they would do to us. After a while, I said, "No, no, I'm good. I'm good." I didn't really like her personality to begin with, and the beauty part I just sent me over the hill. I just didn't want to deal with it. I
How
mostly
do
deal
you?
with sixes and sevens. I like them. They're cool. Personality means more to me than looks now.
Okay, so how did you meet that 9 out of 10 Korean girl?
In a Korean club. Dude, Korean clubs are a hoot, man. There's so many crazy things going on in their clubs, dude. Like host bars, like everything. There's so much craziness going on. Like the club I met her, it was a club where you can pay these hostess to bring you beautiful women to because again, saving faces and your image is the most important thing. It's not how good you are. So we was in this club, and I'm with my buddy, some of my school friends, like my university school friends, and this dude that they're with, he's spending like 2 grand every like 15 minutes to buy drinks, and then he pays the hostess some money, and she brings out these bomb-looking women. I'm talking like half of them have surgery. They're just top to bottom. They're gorgeous, and they're literally just paid to chill with us and party with us. And I'm just sitting there, and I just started talking to her, and we just got along after that.
What?
But yeah,
So
you
you
go to
guys
the club.
paid to meet those girls?
Yeah, he paid for that, which is
Okay.
very, I wouldn't say common, but it's a thing. You can pay for extra services like that. He was crazy, that Chinese guy.
Okay. So would you say you need to know the Korean language to meet Korean women,
Uh,
or is English enough?
um, to meet the Korean American women, no. You don't need to speak any Korean at all. Just go to Itaewon or Hongdae, and that's Hongdae's a student town, and Itaewon is like where the military base is. There's a whole bunch of women that are trying to escape Korea, and they speak English legibly, so you're fine. You don't need to learn it. Um, but if you want a larger access to women, you need to speak the language. There's a whole slew of beautiful women that they just don't speak English. So yeah.
Awesome. Question for you as well. So, what's the best avenues, sorry, to meet Korean women? Is it online dating such as Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, or is it cold approaching, clubs? Can you list down the best ways to meet gorgeous Korean women?
It depends on your age group.
Okay.
And if you just trying, are you trying to date or are you just trying to get it in? These are
Uh,
two
g-
things.
list everything. So age group, get it in, date. So let us know the full on intel.
So if you're just trying to get it in, everyone still lives with their parents until they're like 30 and married. So the idea of taking going back to her place is a no-no. The idea of bringing her back to your place is a maybe, but usually you'll go to a DVD room or a love motel. A love motel is exactly what it sounds like. It's a motel, and you pay them for an hour to do the business. It costs like on a Friday night, it cost me like 40 quid. It can be pretty horrendous, the prices. Um,
Jeez.
so if you're 18 to like even 30, just go to a club. Go to a club. There's no such thing as the 2 p.m. rush. By 12 o'clock, again, they're very brutal. You'll go in there, you'll see a girl you like, you'll talk to her, and she will literally run down a list like she's hiring you for a job. How old are you? What university do you go? What do you do for a living? If you fail those three questions, she'll ditch you and move on to the next one. They're pretty like they'll even sometimes just look at you and say no. But if you meet the criteria within 10 minutes, you can go off of her, go to a DVD room or wherever and do the business. So if you're young, just go do that. Go to a foreigner bar, see some young girls dance. They're a bit westernized, so they'll go a bit slower. You might have to take them on a date. But like I said before, the first once you get them on the date, it's pretty much guaranteed. She's already interested in you. There's no cat and mouse games going on where she's using you for free food. That doesn't really exist, even with the Korean American kind of girls.
Awesome. Okay. What about online dating and dating apps? Do they work?
I did Tinder a little bit, but I didn't like it, to be honest with you, because I can just go to a bar. I can vet the girl right then and there. Like, um, remember, like, they don't have the same kind of social problems, right? The women aren't that sort of sexually aggressive, so they don't need to do these kind of dating apps sort of thing. They are on there though, but you can just go to a bar. Seriously, just go to a bar. Once you get 30 plus, you need to start thinking about the more older bars. You can meet strangers there. A lot of meetups and language exchanges. Language exchanges where you go to practice languages, but it's kind of understood that you're going there to find someone to date. It's like it's not said, but it's kind of like everyone kind of knows the deal. Like half the people there are trying to get laid.
Yeah.
So once you get 25, even the young kids, you can do that too. Go to a language exchange, try to learn some of their language, and you'll meet a nice young girl right there, um, fairly easily. The
Okay.
the others, the last one, chances are you'll never do, but I'll explain anyway, which is sogeting. Sogeting is like introductory group dates, you know?
Yeah.
When you're ready to actually be in a serious relationship, you're not just trying to boom boom, you actually want a serious relationship. You'll go to your buddy and say, "Hey buddy, I'm looking for someone serious. Can you hook me up?" He'll show you a picture of a bunch of female friends. You'll say the ones that you like. He'll talk to a friend of hers and they'll send your picture around and they'll all behind your back talk about you and find who likes who. And then all six of you or eight of you, whatever in pairs, you'll all have a giant group date together and you'll do the whole thing together. And then if you like each other, you can take it from there. Um, but that's usually Koreans do that. Korean Americans aren't really. I doubt I don't think they're going to be doing that. I've done that once. Um, it was fine. It was just like it didn't really feel like a date though, because there wasn't sexual tension. You've got people talking random shit. But again, that's for more serious sort of things.
Hey, are you playing with your pen or something?
Oh, my bad. I didn't realize you can hear that.
Thanks for. Okay, so before I ask you any more questions, guys, we've got up to 69 people here. Can you please hit the like button? Come on, guys. This is free intel, and don't just be watching and not supporting the channel. I'm not asking you for any money. What I'm asking for is to hit the like button. Okay, hit the like button, please. Thank you. So yeah, it sounds like it's very easy to meet Korean women there in Korea because it's in London, right? It's so frustrating here. Okay, the attitudes of women, the rudeness, the entitlement, the constant games, the constant using people, using men for free dates and for free meals. I'm just sick and tired of what I'm dealing with, in the UK. And to hear that, in other countries, foreign countries, it's a lot more easier. What would you say is the average body count of Korean women? 'Cause in London, the body counts that women have here is high, very high. And personally, I don't want to wife a woman who has a very high body count. Uh, in fact, hardly any at all. So in Korea, would you say the women there have high body counts or low body counts?
Hmm. I think it depends. It's two extremes. Like it is possible to meet people that are 30 and virgins. That is absolutely possible. They exist. Remember, they live with their families until they're married. So 30 years old, two siblings and parents and grandma all in the house. So when are you going to do the business? You see the problem. So you will have some that they've only really been with like three or four, maybe five. Same with the guys. I'd say generally speaking, just some people. Women have had more partners than men. Just that's just a general thing on the planet. If a woman's been with five men, the man that she married has only been with three women. Um, Here it's sort of like that. You'll have some that's only been with a couple, but then you'll have those women that have just they've just been around life. The difference is they hide it. They actually have some shame and they keep quiet and they hide it. When you break up with them, they will delete you from existence. They're not doing this whole let's stay in touch on social media. No, they'll erase you off the planet like you never existed. I've had male friends that that's happened to. There's so many stories I've heard from friends of friends where they had a girlfriend, they go to the military because you have to do your mandatory military service for guys, and there's a thing they call the phone call where like they go into the military with a girlfriend, and then within a week half the guys are crying because their girlfriends have called them and dumped them because they didn't have the heart to do it, and then the girls just delete them off the planet. I've had coworkers dump their boyfriends like that. They just delete them from all social media and never talk to them again. Um, in London, that wasn't the case. They were willing to continue doing the business with me right up until they found a new guy. That's not really a thing in Korea. You can kind of do it if you're really that kind of valuable man, but it's not really a thing.
Awesome. So apart from Korean women, are there any other races of women there in South Korea that check for brothers as well?
Um, well, the country you have to remember the country is like 99% Korean. Um, there are a few other small groups in there, like Chinese Koreans, Korean Americans. So by Korean American, so when I say American Koreans and Korean Americans, I mean two different things. There are Koreans that were born and raised in America and then they came to Korea as adults, right? That's the Korean Americans. American Koreans that are Americanized, they're the ones that just maybe they went to university for 2 years and came back. There's cultural differences between them. You can meet small little foreigner groups. So there was a group of blacks out there, black foreigners that work as English teachers, but they all work as English teachers. So their experiences and their positions be is very specific. So there is that you can jump to. I think it's called like brothers and sisters in soul or something. Um, the- and so mostly those are American women, black American women. I personally didn't like them. I fucking hated them, man.
Why?
Mate, you already know why I don't like them. What are you doing, mate? It wasn't even the weight. I can get past the weight. That wasn't the issue. They were just so insufferable, man. It's like they're on this matriarchy crap, and I just no, darling, no, like no, no.
But they liked you because of your accent, right? They wanted to get to know you more.
Yeah, like the accent's a great icebreaker. You know, it pulls down the defenses of everyone. But I just don't like dealing with their personalities, man. Like this whole boss bitch mentality, or
Language, but carry on.
oh sorry, my apologies, but the whole bossiness sort of thing, I'm just not attracted to it. They just come off as feminized men to me personally. So I just when I went to those meetups, I went I constantly went for like a year, but I was just not. The moment they start talking, I was just not attracted to them, and it had nothing to do with their looks, but just the words out of their mouth. There are some white Americans, quite a lot. You're gonna meet, and they're gonna be from like rural areas, like Ohio and Idaho and these kind of places, and they're generally nice people. Um, but it's mostly going to be Koreans. But what you can do is what I was doing was I just go to Japan, and just chill out there for 3 months. My apartment's paid off for a year. Just go to Japan for 3 months. Go to Tokyo and chill out there, and speak my crappy Japanese and live my life. So I was doing that back and forth, using Korea as a base of ops, and then just traveling between.
Awesome. We've got 85 people watching this live stream. If you're new to this live stream, I would appreciate it if you hit the like button. Get me up to minimum 80 likes. So please hit the like button. I need your support to push this video out to other brothers to gain this intel and to gain this knowledge. Thank you very much. You said you were going to Japan. Did you deal with Japanese women while you were in Japan?
Briefly, yeah, I dated a little bit while I was there. No long-term relationships. They all spoke English to some degree. Same again. I just went to some meetups. Dated half a dozen times, somewhere between there. Some I met at language meetups, and some I just met in a club. Like dude, I'm a weirdo, so please just keep that in mind. But I have no problem now and again just going to a club on my own. That really doesn't bother me. Um, so from time to time, I would just do that. Just go to the club. I'm used to London. I grew up. I'm not a road man. I'll say it this way: I'm not a road man, but I have roadman ways, right? Because I'm just purely just because I'm from Southeast London. So I do the cold approach. I don't do it as much anymore. I'm in my 30s, but I would just cold approach, just straight walk up to them, pretend my this is my gag. You don't have to do this. This was just my gag. I just pretend to be the dumb foreigner, speaking in Korean or Japanese, and say, "Excuse me, do you know where the station is?" Of course, I know where the bloody station is, but I just pretend like I don't know. I'll spot something, start talking to them about random stuff, and then if they're for it, I'll just say, "Hey, let's hang out at this club later on," and then I'll meet them at the club or at the bar or something. So that's how I met some Korean and Japanese women. Literally just on the streets of Tokyo. I see a club. I just walk to the club. Don't even need to go inside of it. Just walk past the club. There'll be some beautiful girls on their way in, and you just cold approach and say, you know, just start talking horseshit. They will they're very interested in you as a foreigner, so you can just speak Konglish or Japanglish, which is just English in their language. You can't. They do understand a lot of English nouns, but they just don't understand the grammar. So you can just blag it away in. And if they're into it, and even if they're not into it, you can have a good time and laugh and meet some people.
Awesome. Hey, this is great intel so far, man. Brothers need this intel. Brothers are tired of what's happening in America. I'm personally tired of what's happening in the UK, man. I'm telling you, it's been really tough for me during this whole lockdown period because I should be traveling, man. I should be meeting foreign women. And I'm sorry, I just can't deal with UK women anymore. And of course, it's just been very frustrating for me and other brothers who prefer foreign women, but we can't travel. And you giving this intel is very good, so I appreciate that, Jack. Out of Japanese and Korean women, which one do you prefer?
I can only really, because I haven't dated in long-term relationships. Um, for me, it was Japanese. Korean culture's brutal, dude. Like absolutely brutal. They have a lot of high standards and expectations. So, um, yeah, for me, it was Japanese. But then again, I don't know the intricacies of what would have happened if I had gotten married. I know what would happen if I married a Korean, but not a Japanese lass. So, but on the surface, I'd say yeah, Japanese.
Yeah, I'd say Japanese women are a lot more better looking than Korean women. Although Korean women, are good looking, but I feel like Japanese women have that vibrant femininity, and they're just beautiful in general. Would you agree with that, Jack?
Um, Not really. Well, how part of the problem is the women on the Korean women on TV. They've all had bloody surgery, man. Like So what you're comparing it to is this weird, they've got all this eye surgery, rhinoplasty, the chins, it's like they say you can, there's a look that in Korean that there's a word for it, that you go to a doctor and just buy that face. Everyone understands what that means. You can buy that face. It's the Michael Jackson nose, it's the big eyes like an anime, and it kind of makes them look weird. Once you hit the streets, you'll realize that a lot of girls, they've just had the eyelid surgery, that's it. They haven't had the whole nose and everything unless you go to Gangnam. And they look very different. Like, I'd say chances are you wouldn't be able to distinguish between a Korean and a Japanese unless they've had surgery. If they've had surgery, yeah, you can tell. A lot of Japanese people look Korean, dude. Like, I've had so many Korean friends, like 50-50 it, whether or not someone's Korean or Japanese. Sometimes it's really hard. But they do try, and that's always funny.
Okay, so since you have so much surgery there in Korea, um, you just got to be careful. You want to avoid trans people. Um, is that a problem in Korea? Because obviously Korean women are doing surgery, trans people do surgery to be woman or whatever. Um, Everyone in this live stream wants to avoid trans women. Can you give intel on that? On is that a big problem in Korea as well because of surgery?
Nah, the surgery is pretty limited to face. You don't have to worry about that sort of stuff. In Thailand and Philippines, yeah. But remember, like when it comes to that sort of stuff, the trans stuff, it's actual. Like, what's the best way to say this? In the Philippines, they're really doing it just to get money. They're poor, and the guys are just like, yeah, I'll just do this, pretend to do this, and get some guy to, give me some money. You don't have to worry about a ladyboy or something in Korea, no. The question is
Okay.
whether or not you find the plastic surgery attractive or not. Because I'm telling you, it's a lot of them have had surgery. It's quite a lot. I personally do not find it attractive, but lots of Korean guys do find it attractive. Again, that's why you're not a threat. You don't find those kind of women attractive. So
Yeah, thanks for that, Jack. In Mark Law, you're right. Just calling them trans people, they're not women. 100% facts, Mark Law. Um, yeah, I'd say this is good intel so far. I'm going to open up the phone lines in 10 minutes so people can ask you questions, Jack, if that's okay. Yeah?
yeah, shoot, shoot.
Okay. What have I missed out on this stream? What do you feel like brothers need to know in this live stream regarding Korean women, South Korean in general too? Could you please, state what we need to know about that? That's important.
So I've mentioned the visa thing. You need to really be on top of that when you're traveling. Don't take it lightly. Get that stuff sorted. Especially when you're under 30, take full advantage of those working holiday visas. You're going to struggle to find a job, but take full advantage of it. You get 2 years to come, explore, and do whatever you want. Of course, to do that, you're going to need to get your finances in order. So I'd say get on top of that. Me, I was lucky because I got into the whole men's rights thing when I was a teen. That forced me to get into finances. So I've had an investment account and my own personal retirement account, and I've been dealing with that sort of stuff since I was young. So I already had money, and so when it came time for me to lose my job and stuck in a country, can't speak their language, I had something to fall back on. Some guys didn't have that. They just came here on a plane, got an English teaching job, they lost the English teaching job, and they have to go back to their home country broke. They lose out on 6 months of rent, they lose out on this and that, they lose their girlfriend, like, because there's no safety net for you. So just keep that in mind when you're traveling. You are a lone agent, and there is no safety net or help for you. Um, Even the other foreigners, they can't employ you. They might be able to refer you to someone for some English teaching gigs, but there's not going to be much help for you. So you need to put yourself in as strong a financial situation as you can before you come to Korea, Japan, any of those countries, because you're going to be on your own. Um,
I
Um,
think you mentioned you blew £20,000. How did you blow £20,000 in 6 months in Korea?
I was a fucking retard. I'm sorry, but I was
How?
I was just so stupid. So I overpaid for my apartment. That was probably number one. Um, I didn't anticipate having to visa hop. So think about that. Every 6 months, I'm having to go abroad, spend 400, 500 quid for a plane ticket, and then spend a week or 2 weeks worth of money on hotels, combined with paying for my rent. Um, I'm having to. I spent some money on my semesters for studying when I should have just completely quit studying and just done it on home. But instead, I chose to do the whole thing. That was just financially irresponsible. It was lots of small decisions like that that if I had acted sooner, I would have been able to save a lot more money and put myself in a better position. But instead, I just let my own feelings of happiness and the rest of it. I just got too comfortable and I let it consume me. So I say financial stability. That's super super important. um, get an investment account and get that all together. So even though I blew the money, I was still okay because I'd been saving since I was young and I understand the stock market well enough. So um, I can't stress that enough. Get that in order before you come here. You will when you're here, and this goes for all the East Asian countries. They're very strict on you foreigners, so don't get into any altercation. They will just revoke your visa and kick you out for any incident. So you don't want it to get to the point where you're involved in the police. It doesn't matter if a Japanese guy was trying to punk you and then you decided to defend yourself. They don't care. Once you're in front of a judge, the hammer will come down on you. Even if you're not guilty, they revoke your visa and kick you out. I've seen that several times, Japan and Korea. So be very careful. If you've got even if you haven't got if you're just going to come here for 3 months, you might do yourself some good just spending 30 quid on an enhanced CRB check and just double check that there isn't any nonsense going on with your name. There was one guy, he got super unlucky. He was black, light skinned, and it just so happened that Interpol had a warrant for a guy with his same name and date of birth but looked different ethnicity. And when he traveled, it became a problem for him trying to leave the country. That was very rare, but I'd say yeah, just for peace of mind, make sure that you've got all this stuff together. You can always use that same CRB check to help you get a visa later on, so don't worry too much about it. Um, yeah, there's other things as well, but that's sort of the important one. Like, don't be afraid to open up a bank account. All you need is a passport. You don't have to live there. So I have a Japanese bank and a Korean bank. I'm not even in either country. They don't
Okay,
actually care about your visa status. They're private entities.
okay. So I want to speak to you about. Okay, so you're saying don't get into any altercations, but say you need to defend yourself. Someone's attacking you with a knife or an object. You're telling me we can't do nothing about that?
I'm telling you, you're screwed. Yeah, I told you, man. They're brutal out there. They're absolutely brutal. They're absolutely brutal.
So what do you mean we can't defend us? Nah, I'm not going to take that.
Once,
If someone's attacking me, it wants to attack me, I'm going to defend myself. You
yeah,
know.
of course, if there's video and it shows that the person's got a knife and it goes to that end, you're fine. But like for example, there's a spot me and my buddy goes to, the local watering hole, and there's always a pair of guys that scam foreigners. They'll start some shit, or sorry, they'll start something in the club, get the foreigner angry, push the foreigner. They won't hit him, but they'll push him and poke and prod him to the point where the foreigner overreacts and pushes him back. And then the guy will pretend to fall over. That foreigner now has to settle and give him money under the rug. Because if he files a claim against that foreigner, he's finished. He's finished. Any mark on you where you were reported to the authorities and uh, it's in the system, you are potentially liable to losing your visa. Again, they're very strict out here. Drugs are a no-no. So if you think you're going to come here to take drugs, that's a no-no. There's always some idiotic American soldier that's trying to smuggle the green goods, and he's getting people into trouble. So drugs are a no-no. They're zero tolerance policy out here for that sort of stuff. Um, and generally, like the police will try to have you and the person sort everything out without going to the judge because everyone knows that this is the case. When people are punished, they just they just nuke the whole thing. So the police will try to get the two of you to solve it unofficially after the fact. But if you can't speak Korean, it's going to be kind of tough. For example, I had a buddy a month ago. His jacket, he's Korean, and his jacket was stolen. The police ended up catching the guy, and there was no prosecution, no nothing. The police literally just kind of put them in a WhatsApp chat and got them to negotiate getting the jacket back. Like it was really screwed up, dude.
So the guy who stole it didn't get in trouble.
No, because my buddy, like, if my buddy had pressed charges, he'd have to go through the whole ringer at his expense. It's not like the state will go and prosecute for you. You have to turn up to court and do all this stuff as well. Um, so my buddy just said, look, just come meet me, give me back the jacket, and make sure nothing's stolen, and we just call it even. And they just did that because again, everything is upside down world. It's kind of like dealing with the military, where a police officer and a citizen has an issue, and then you get the military to solve the situation. When the military solves that problem, everyone gets hit.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jack. So you mentioned investment. You started investing very, very early, around in the early 2000s, right? Was that correct?
Um, so my first retirement account, I think 2004, 2000, sometime around there, yeah, sometime around there.
But
That was my
yeah,
first ISA account where they allow you to have 20k pounds in one account. So I started with that.
okay. And you left that growing for a couple years. And what did that grow to? What? And if you don't mind me asking.
So by the end of it, before I closed it down and took all the money out, it was about 45 grand, something like that.
And was that ISA to do with stocks, or was it just like a what's it called, compound interest account that you get 5% every year on the 20 grand you put in?
No, those were stocks. So I did so initially I did the just every month I would buy the FTSE. So buy an index, iShares FTSE 500 index, because I didn't know anything and some guy just told me what to do. So I just did that for the first couple of years. Then after I read Benjamin Graham's book on value investing, and then I read um, I think it was Smart Money. I think the book was called Smart Money. I just realized that there's just so much BS of furus out there. I switched to something called sector rotation. So I would do the whole sector rotation thing where every 3 to 6 months I would check on the current market and where I think it's going to be. And if I think, oh, the next 6 months is going to be tech stocks, I'd sell all the current stocks I own and I'd buy an ETF that covers the tech industry, the consumables industry, and gas or whatever the three industries for that 6 months to a year is going to be. And I just rotate the stocks out. So that way I was able to get about 15%, 5 to 15% every year, pretty consistently.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, brothers, get that intel down. We're all about money on this channel as well, not just foreign women, stocks, crypto. So yeah, definitely please open up your stock exchanges account, start investing in crypto. Yesterday, I did a live stream with three intelligent brothers who broke down the cryptocurrency game for all of us. So definitely check out that live stream that I dropped yesterday. So I'll open up the phone lines in roughly a minute or two. You said you traveled to Hong Kong. Is that true, Jack?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I love Hong Kong, man. I've got a buddy out there. She's now married with a kid, and she's awesome, man. I go over there now and again.
Okay, so I have actually come in touch with recent intel saying that Hong Kong women really like brothers. Is that true?
I only dated two girls in Hong Kong, and my experience was just like everybody else. Especially if you remember, you're talking to. I'm not Brad Pitt. I'm not Idris Elba. 6 foot, overweight, dreads with a giant smile, and I'm dark. So there's no real excuse if you can't do it. And it was literally just once you break the ice and you're constantly smiling and giggling, just remember their values are very different. They're not sexually aggressive. Their their concern is just the general concerns of a woman. Do I get along with this man? Is he willing to provide for me? Can he protect me? The end. You know,
Awesome.
there's also other things like, will my family get along with him? Can he get along with my family? Can I get along with his? And these type of things. But again, once you start talking to them, that's something that you and her can work out. Hong Kong seemed fine. Yeah, I personally, I've had a couple incidents regarding my skin color, but that's completely outweighed by the great things that's happened. So
Yeah, so I've got two more questions for you before we actually open up the phone lines. The first one is scams in South Korea, because we know in Japan, right?
yeah.
They've got this scam going on, mostly done by Africans, where they will lure you to a club and they tell you to buy these drinks, but you find out the drinks are like £1,000. They tell you to pay, like, whoa, what's going on there? Are those similar? Are those scams like that prevalent in South Korea amongst the African population, or a different demographic of people?
Yeah, I avoid any. Once I hear an African accent and he's telling me about some club, I run. I know they exist. I've never been caught up in it. I try to keep native Koreans close to me as much as possible, so I don't have to deal with that sort of nonsense. But it does exist. Um, you know, yeah, that is a thing.
Okay, okay. Thanks for that, bro. And speak to us about racism there in South Korea. Did you experience any type of racism in South Korea in terms of people saying the N word at you, or treating you differently because you're black, or mentioning your skin color or how you look? Break it
Oh
down
God,
for us, bro.
God no! Like remember, like I said, like as a shorthand, just remove the word race and racism from your lexicon because they dislike anyone that isn't them. Everyone, everyone's in that category. If their daughter brings home a Japanese guy, daddy's not going to be proud. He's going to be like, "Why are you bringing home this Japanese guy for? What are you doing to our family?" They dislike both. So that's a thing. You'll never hear someone say the N word. If you do, it's going to be a Korean American person, some guy that was born and raised in some hood in America, and he's bringing that garbage with him. Like I have had a couple incidents, but they were with white guys and Korean American guys. You know, um, so native Koreans, they just don't have any experience with you. Chances are, once you if you have a 5 minute conversation with a random Korean, you're probably the first black person they've ever spoken to outside of their English teacher. So they just don't know. They really don't know. You know, it's a blank slate. Um, there is a general attitude of not liking dark skin. That's a thing. That goes way beyond just black and white. That's just a cultural thing. They prefer pale skin. And it's just yeah, Europeans benefit from that because de facto they kind of look it.
Yeah.
but it's not really you generally you won't have to worry about it. If you're a person that needs validation, it will bother you because random Koreans, East Asians generally, they have no filter. They will absolutely tell you to your face that you need to lose weight. They're very critical, and they think that by telling you your shortcomings physically, they're actually helping you. That's generally just how they think, I swear to you. So they will just say, hey, IP, you're gaining weight. You need to lose weight, man. IP, you're a little bit dark, man. You need to consider using some sunscreen and walk around with an umbrella. Yo, IP, man, your nose, man, what's up with that, man? It's getting kind of wonky these days. Yo, IP, what's up with this? Like, they will tell you to your face. Even random. That random guy in a taxi, he'll tell you, hey, you need to stop dating those foreign girls, date a Korean girl, they're better. Stop dating your own trashy country. They will tell you that to your face. They don't care. That's not the line where you shouldn't talk about things. It's when it's the government that you shouldn't talk about. But they will say those kind of things. I have had some incidents, but to be honest, they're more funny than anything, dude. Like I have been to, I was supposed to meet one guy. My first year, I'm struggling. I'm trying to get some money. I'm supposed to meet him to do a one-on-one English practicing thing, and I don't know what he looks like, and I'm supposed to meet him at the station, and I see a guy walk out the station. We kind of both lift our head, see each other's eyeballs, and he immediately just has a look of like sudden shock, like a deer, and he turns around and runs, like physically runs, and he's physically running, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? My buddy calls me up and he's like, yo, Jack, yeah, and before he finishes it, I'm like, the guy running, that's him, isn't it? And my friend's like, yeah. He saw that you were black and he was like, yeah, he can't handle it. Black is too much. Like literally, that's what the Korean guy said to my buddy. Black is too much, and he just bounced. Like
Damn.
that's like the most I've had. There's no real hate there. Physical hate like America, that doesn't exist. Because America, in my opinion, ethnicity, culture, and economics are all linked to your skin tone. They're all one thing. The rest of the world doesn't operate like that. The rest of the world separates the two. I'm sorry, the three. They separate. These are the people with money. These are the people with the culture, and these are the people over here. But America's just the odd one out. It's really not race. They really do dislike everyone. Seriously.
Okay, so you said you can't criticize the government if you're a foreigner.
Hell no.
Okay, why is that?
Well, that's the topic that gets people very touchy and very sensitive. So as much as they seem very open, like you can talk to them about anything, the government's a topic that gets very touchy real quick. So I'd say avoid it. Avoid religion too. Remember, oh, pardon me. There's some Christians. It's growing, but they're mostly Buddhists or some kind of generalized some kind of generalized Confucius. There are Christians in recent years, and some of them are a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like they've got their own Christian sects, their own leaders, and everything that you've never heard of. So yeah, just avoid those two topics: religion and the government or politics. Just stay away from them, and you'll be fine. Everything else, they'll tell you. They'll tell you to your face. Like I've had Koreans, like when we're playing the game, like guessing whether someone's Korean or Japanese. Like I've had Koreans tell me that I didn't even know this. A lot of non-Africans are brown with pink lips. I didn't even notice that. They told me that to my face. So they will tell you these ignorant things. Like they don't care. They don't have your values, man. They really don't.
Damn. Hey, thanks for that info. Yeah, I'm gonna open up the phone lines for anyone to ask you questions, Jack. In the meantime, got 93 people watching this live stream. Can you please hit the like button if you're new to the stream? Your support is much appreciated. This is free intel. I'm not charging for this, so please hit the like button. Again, when you subscribe to my channel, make sure you click the notification bell so you get every notification from me, whether it's live streams, uploads, or posts. I strongly suggest you guys to follow me follow me on Twitter and DM me to set up a live stream or ask me any questions regarding stocks, foreign women, or getting your passport. Here is my Twitter. Follow me right now on Twitter. Get in touch with me. DM me. That is the link I posted in the live stream. Alternatively, you can also get in touch with me on Instagram. Right, so follow me on Instagram. Get in touch with me. DM me any questions you have. Please let me know. So here's the IG link as well. I've just dropped the Twitter link and the IG link. Definitely follow me on Twitter. I'm trying to use that a lot more to expand the reach to get more brothers into this passport movement, stocks movement, and crypto movement, and of course the foreign woman movement. So please get in touch with me via those two platforms. So I will now open up the phone lines. Please be respectful to Jack, the janitor. If I sense any disrespect, I'm cutting you off. You know, he's taking the time out to give us free game to encourage brothers to get out there. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of dealing with UK women. I'm tired of the feminism. I'm tired of the entitlement. I'm tired of, the rudeness. I'm not saying all UK women are rude, but a good amount. I'm sick of it. So we need to be looking at alternative means. Okay. We need to be looking at other countries in the world that will allow us to meet feminine foreign women. South Korea, I think, is a good option, you know? So we're calling right now. There's a link. Call in. And I can't pin it. Why can't I pin this comment? This is such a joke. What is going on with YouTube? Why won't it allow me to pin the live stream link? Are these guys messing around with my channel or something? Flipping heck. Why can't I pin it? All right, guys, call in. Zach Hayes.
Flipping heck.
What's up, Zach Hayes? You good?
What's up, man? I was just looking, just exited out the link. How are you?
Hey, not too bad, bro. Not too bad. How you going? You okay?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing fine. Doing fine. Just listening to the live stream and everything. I just wanted to add this. So, number one, I used to have a teacher who taught biology while I was in high school. She's actually from South Korea,
Okay.
marrying a black man. So those comments that you listed about, in terms of them just saying, not necessarily ignorant stuff, but, just pointing out what they see from a person who's kind of different from them. I used to box when I was younger. So, like, you can't really notice, but if you were to see me in person, like, one ear, like, looks like pretty normal, and the other ear, like, looks a bit different. But when I was in the classroom with her one day, she was tutoring me. And she just said out of nowhere that somebody boxed your ear because it looked different from the other one. So, like, I definitely agreed with you in terms of them just pointing out the things that you're already a little bit, like, not necessarily insecure about, but you're aware of the you're aware of the stuff that you do have, in terms of, like, visual aesthetics that you're not necessarily proud of. So that can be, kind of, like, mentally, like, tough, like, to deal with sometimes, but, you just live and you learn.
Awesome. Thanks for that statement, Zach. Do you have any questions for Jack the janitor regarding this live stream topic?
Well, I mean, you already answered it a couple of minutes ago. It's just, I'm just very skeptical on me traveling and thinking that I'm going to have no problems. I mean, that's subjective, but, if somebody's attacking me with a knife, like, I can't just stand there if my life is in jeopardy. So how can I figure that situation out?
100% facts. Yeah. I think Jack broke it down for us. You still should defend yourself, and even if it means, you leaving the country, your life is more important than staying in the country, and so forth. So I'd say it's a 50-50 situation. If it's something you can avoid, then avoid. But if you need to protect yourself, even if it means even if it means leaving the country. Your life matters. And I think that'll be the best answer to your question. Do you have any other last questions before I move on to someone else, Zach?
I don't really have any questions. I just wanted to ask you guys if you're familiar with the Proto Three Kingdoms of Korea. I have a little bit of knowledge on Asian, like, culture and history. Like, are you familiar with that?
A few, but you know, I still want to read more about it, and I feel like me, you know, trying to find different avenues for foreign women. You know, I do want to learn some of the languages just to make it easier for me to speak to women, potentially make money in their countries, and so on and so forth. So I do feel like, you know, brothers should be looking to increase their knowledge before going to these countries, which is why I have these live streams, you know, getting brothers to prepare before leaving there. So thank you, Zach, for calling in. And
So,
if you stay on the line, I'll come back to you later on, yeah?
absolutely.
Put yourself on mute.
Well,
Oh, do you want to say something else, Jack?
No, I just want to go to your point. You know, like you are going to have problems in East Asia, and it depends which ones you go to. In terms of physical altercations, you're more likely to get into a fist fight in China or like Southeast Asia, like Philippines or somewhere, or Thailand. But generally in East Asia, they don't like confrontation, so you don't have to worry too much about it. I mention it just I mention it so that you're not caught off guard where you get into this fist fight and you're shocked, like, oh my God, I got into a fist fight and now they deported me, but I was just defending myself. Oh my God, I wish someone would have told me that. Well, I just told you that. So the best scenario is to just not get in a fight. You see some guys doing something in a club and they look like they're gonna fight, you start you take your girl, you take your friend, and you start stepping away and move towards the exit, right? Don't get involved. You know, I've seen fist fights between not Marines, American soldiers and Koreans, and I just put my head down and walk away. It's not my problem. Let the United States government deal with it. Because again, no one's going to be on your side. It's going to be you having to pick up the pieces. You know, even if you are in the right. You know, so it's just something to be aware of and recognize that you're a lone soldier traveling the world. So you doubly have to watch your shoulder, you know, because I kind of get where you're coming from. You know, before I went to Korea, I was scared. I thought everyone hated black people. I was watching YouTube videos about racism in Korea, racism in Japan, and that stuff freaked the hell out of me. I went to the SOAS, the School of African and Oriental Studies in London for like 6 months to learn Korean because this stuff freaked me out. You know, so I kind of get where you're coming from. You know,
Sorry, you went to SOAS. Was that in South Korea?
no, that was in London. So before I even lived there, I was already prepared. I was already going back and forth on holiday, and I had already done a Korean course in London at the School of African Oriental Studies for 6 months to learn Korean before I even went there. So I knew I was gamed up before I ever stepped foot there because I didn't want what the brother here was saying. I didn't want to be surprised by something that I should have known, you know.
Facts, facts. Thanks for that, Jack. Thanks for that, Zach. I'm gonna put you on mute. Yeah, let me add in someone else to the call. Okay. All right, thank you. Let me add in D. Thomas Demian, I see you there. Stay in the queue, bro. I'll add you to the panel later on. Shout out to Sterling for You Can't Live in Fear, 100% facts. Hold on, D. So yeah, I want to push out brothers. Please go to the gym. Okay, I'd say while we can't travel at this time, please go to the gym, learn how to fight, get bigger, get muscles, because presence is very important. When they see you're some hench big dude, no one will attempt to step to you. Because it is true, you know, these countries where foreign women love us, the men in those countries can get jealous and they'll try to attack you, provoke you. You know, they'll start hating on you, want to start fights with you. But when they see you're big, they won't mess with you. And even if they do mess with you, you can actually back yourself up. You can fight. So please hit the gym, get your body right, make sure you get your cardio up, you get your fitness up, etc., etc. Don't just be some gullible tourist in a foreign country. So please go to the gym, get bigger, start lifting weights, get on the treadmill, get stronger, faster, healthier, bigger. Okay, D, what's up, bro?
Hey, what's up, man? How you been?
Not
Huh?
carry on.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, you speak truth when you said the gym, because even now, I'm about to go to the gym myself, so that's a fact. But yeah, but what I'd like to say is, I really like how Korean people, from what the brother told us, I like how Koreans are very honest with people, because I've heard of that before. Um, I just didn't know how true it was, but now that you confirmed it for me, I actually like that idea of being honest with people. Even though the truth might hurt, I think people need to, know the truth about themselves in order to improve themselves instead of, living in comfort, in my opinion.
Can you repeat that, bro? I missed what you said. My connection went off.
Oh yeah, I said that I like what he said about Koreans being honest, because I've always heard that Koreans were honest people, and brutally honest at that, and I think that's actually a good thing, because if people are honest, with you about the things that's flawed, it can actually help you to improve yourself rather than sugarcoating everything. You know what I mean?
Yep, I agree with that 100%. Do you have a question for Jack?
Oh, Jack. Oh, yeah. So Jack, when would be the best time? What season would be the best time to go visit Korea for, like, tourist events?
Summer or winter's fine. You don't want to go around the Chinese New Year.
Mhm,
They're all with their families and chilling. They don't really celebrate Christmas, so you don't have to worry about that. Yeah,
mhm.
just go in the summer. But the summers are brutal, and so are the winters. The summers are extremely hot, and the winters are extremely cold.
So,
So
what's the temperature like in the summertime and winter?
boiling. I don't know. I don't know the number, but everyone's sweating. It's
Mhm.
pretty horrible. In the winter, there's snow and ice and blistering
Mhm.
chills. It's pretty extreme on both ends.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, I hated it.
Yeah. Yeah. I could imagine it's pretty tough. Also, would you say that would you say is best to travel this year to Korea for anyone that want to visit?
I don't actually know. I
Mhm.
haven't been since the lockdown. I intend to go there sometime this summer. My buddy's sending me like screenshots and stuff. There's mandated lockdowns and stuff, but the places that young people visit, no one gives a shit. No one cares. The restaurant owners and the customers, they kind of just got an unspoken rule, or like the club that my buddy goes to, they're supposed to not have a certain number of people and they're supposed to wear the masks. But what they do is they told everyone that comes in, hey, when we turn the music down, we need you to kind of put your mask on and just distance each other for a little bit. It means the police are coming. And so
Uh,
that's what they do. The young people are cool with it.
yeah.
Everyone's breaking the rules. They're just doing whatever they want. So
Though.
I don't know if this year's a good year. People are a bit freaked out, and they're probably going to be a bit more distrustful of foreigners. Because I was there when Ebola hit, when MERS hit, and yeah, they gave me weird looks. You know, if you were Nigerian, you did not want to live in Seoul. So I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Cool.
All right. Thanks for that. I'll come back to you later on. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Let me add in Thomas Demihin. What's up, Thomas?
Yo, bro, can you hear me?
Definitely, yeah, I can hear you. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you? It's
Not
all
too
good.
bad. Not too bad. Yes. Yes.
It's,
Do you have any questions for Jack the janitor?
yeah, Jack. Nice to meet you, man. It's fascinating what you've been talking about your life experience in Korea. One question I have is, has the Western like culture been exploited to Korea through the media?
Has it been exported? Do you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's all over the place, dude.
because being being a black guy like yourself, I'm assuming like they've been exposed to like hip hop culture and like they've been exposed to ghetto culture, haven't they? So
Oh, yeah.
they're gonna have this like perception of what black people are. So they're gonna treat them as a collection rather than as individuals. Have you experienced that so far?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. But as I say, like it's you can cut it with a knife down the middle between the people that are 100% Korean and don't particularly care. So the only
Mm.
information they know is black people play basketball. A lot of them are American. There's a place called
Ah.
Africa, and that's about it. The Koreans that are sort of either Korean American or they've studied
Mm.
abroad, yeah, they're hip to American culture. They know what's up. If you make a fried chicken joke or watermelon joke, they'll get it. And like because they've been exposed to it. Um,
Have you told them what's Britain about besides America?
what do you mean?
Like I know there's been Korean Americans, but have they been exposed to like British culture as well?
Well, generally it's just a bunch of stereotypes.
Ah,
Like Mr. Bean. You know,
okay.
um, only fools and horses is, or Doctor Who. That's where they're coming from. They watched a lot of Doctor Who and they assume. Oh, but there is a stereotype. They assume every British person's a gentleman.
Uh,
It's
and we
pretty silly, but yeah,
and we all drink tea and eat
yeah,
crumpets.
yeah. That sort of goofy stuff. It's usually fine. Honestly, most of it's not really going to affect you. Where things will really affect you is when you try to find a job or you're dating a Korean woman that's the bomb. Like that's absolutely where I found issues. So I never truly experienced being denied a job in my life. Well, I only had it one time being denied a job in my life for my skin color, once in London and a bunch of times in Korea. I've
Hmm.
never really had it anywhere else.
Based in from your experiences in Korea, are most of the Korean women like conservative, more family orientated, compared to the women that you've dealt with in London?
Well, there's conservatism doesn't exist in Europe, right? Everyone's liberal. Like you remove the labels and ask them general questions, and they all kind of agree. They agree that equality is a good thing for society, and we should have more of it. They agree that we should have more social welfare. It's just remove the labels, and they all kind of agree. Um, what's socially conservative and liberal is different here. So on one aspect they're conservative, but in another aspect they're liberal. For example, in the summer you will see women under 30 walking around in booty shorts, and you can see their butt cheeks. Right? That's a thing. That's just a thing.
Well, in South Korea or in London?
In South Korea.
Okay, yeah.
That so in that aspect they're pretty liberal. It, Once you go on 3 dates, yeah, you're booming. Even on the first date or second date, once she's agreed to it, there's an understanding that yeah, you're gonna do the business or something. So in that aspect, they're liberal, but then they're traditional in the sense of family. So it is your responsibility to provide. It is your responsibility to make sure the finances are taken care of. It is your responsibility to make sure that you and her have some type of direction. All of that falls on you. It's her responsibility to take care of the family, take care of the kids, make sure all the cooking, take care of the grandparents. Especially if you're a firstborn, that's a thing out there. The firstborn sons get it the worst. They get the brunt of the responsibility. So all of that's sort of there. So in that respect, they're conservative. Um, yeah, I hope. Yeah.
So they're libertarian, I'd say. A bit of
Mm,
both.
no, it's just they're different. It's a mixed bag.
Okay,
I'd say
alright, cool.
they're definitely more on the political right compared to Europe by far.
Definitely.
No doubt about it. You you're not gonna come here and just do your own thing. Like a Korean thinking individually and looking out for themselves, that's a no-no. Their parents would have crushed their self-esteem to get rid of that. No, your duty is to the family. They they
That's what I
they
like.
yeah, they beat that into all of them. So
Because
Go on, Thomas.
the one thing that you also mentioned was honesty. That's what's missing in the Western world today. In terms of like getting into shape, doing, looking after yourself, and that I think I really feel like that's what's missing in the Western world. And have you experienced in some occasions where like a person has told you like you're a bit overweight or just to fixing yourself up? Have you experienced that many times or only one occasion?
All the time, because there's just no point talking about it. Like I'm telling you, they don't care. If they're your friends, you're expected to point these things out. So, for example, if you do a language exchange and they're speaking English and you're speaking Korean, if you if you don't correct them when they make a grammatical error in English, they'll assume that you don't like them and that you're not friends. That's genuinely a thing. I'm not even BSing you. That's really a thing. So they do it all the time. I've had plenty of friends call me fat. Well, they don't call me fat, but they say, "Yo, Jack, you're gaining weight. Stop eating all that food, man. Stop it."
That,
All
that's
right.
that's good. That's
Thanks,
good.
thanks for that, Thomas.
No worries,
Thanks
man.
for those questions, bro. I'll come back to you later on.
Cool,
Let
fam.
me go through the questions again. Put yourself on mute, bro. All right, guys. If you want to call in right now. I'd say I have around 20 to 30 more minutes in this live stream. I don't want to keep Jack the Janitor on for too long. So please call in. I will drop the invite link again. Call in right now if you want to ask Jack any questions about South Korea. I encourage you to call in and ask any questions to Jack. In the meantime, I encourage you to follow me on Twitter, DM me regarding any questions you want to know about traveling, foreign woman, passports, whatever. Get in touch with me through Twitter. So call in right now and to ask any questions to Jack. So let me go back to Zach Hayes. Zach, do you have any more questions for Jack?
So, like, also being in Korea for the first couple of days, just were you like, how are you able to transition with knowing that, okay, like this is a different environment, like I'm no longer in America anymore? Like when did that feeling come to you, like, okay, like this is different, like this is a culture shock? When did that feeling like come to you? The first day, the second day, or the third day? When did it come?
So when I first went, so all the times I was on holiday, 2 weeks at a time, I was living with a Korean family. I did the guest her house thing. So there's a family, they invite a foreigner, and you kind of just live with them. So I was doing that, and it was only maybe the second or third day when we had breakfast. Um, father, son, father, mother, son, and a daughter. We were all just having breakfast, and they just started rattling off and talking about some random TV show called "Let Me In," which is a TV show about Korean surgery. And I was just sitting there confused, like, what the hell? These people are really Korean. Like, holy crap! Why am I here? Why am I eating their food? Should I go back home? Like, I'm just confused. But then afterwards, I was like, wait a minute, I'm in a different country. Let me enjoy this. Let me go and see this TV show that they're talking about. Let me go downstairs and talk to some locals in my crappy Korean. So I embraced it, but some people, it freaks them out and they run back home. They don't like it when the culture shock hits. For me, it was like a couple days. That's when it really sunk in. Some people at these language exchanges have told me it took them like 3 months before they really felt it. Um, but I don't know. For me, it was a couple days. It really hit me hard, and then I kind of got over it.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on, Jack. Go on, Zach.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if you have any expertise in anthropology, or are you do you study, like, or have any experience in architecture? Because I pay closely attention to the aesthetics when I look at the photos of North Korea and South Korea and a lot of Central Asian countries, and like just how the temples and the buildings are set up there. Like, what did you notice that stood out to you in terms of architecture when you were in Korea?
I don't know. I mean, the most I learned about history was from some of my teachers while studying, and Yeah, a lot of the cultures really just goes back to the Han Dynasty in China. Um, there's a lot of all the various dynasties in China. A lot of the culture just passes through from China into Korea and then into Japan. So there's a lot of overlap between them. So they do have their own versions of samurais. They do have their own versions of geishas. They do have their own versions of a lot of this stuff. Same with the music. They have their biwas, which is the women that play this sort of like a guitar. They have there's a lot of similarities. But yeah, they're just after a while it's just another country to me. To be honest with you, it's
Yeah.
just another country of bodies of people and a culture. Again, I can't stress enough. You need to get your finances together and make money outside of the country because it's going to be very difficult for you to make money in the country, and that includes Japan and China. You can do it, especially teaching English, but you're going to need to get that sorted. Yeah, otherwise, it's going to be rough.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm gonna, put myself or international passport, put myself on mute. So there was a war thousand years ago. Goguryeo Sioux War. So Goguryeo was one of the first states in Korea to be formed, right? But it's connected to the three kingdoms of Korea that I spoke about with IP about 20 minutes ago, and how they started creating tension with China was because of that war, the Goguryeo and Sioux War. You can look it up, and that's how Korea and China started creating tension as well. So it's very interesting, go give it a read whenever you have a chance. I look up all of this stuff all of the time because I love anthropology and world history. That's what I love doing.
So I only know some of this stuff through passing. There's a white guy that's been living here for living in Korea for like 40 years or something. He's fluent. He's like a professor. He's got a channel I think called I'm subscribed to it. It's called like the frog in the well or something. He's mentioned quite a bit about the history, and there's also a professor that's done goes into in depth on this for like an hour called like Robert something.
Robert Smith, Atlian Gardens, right?
I think so. I don't remember
Yeah,
the
yeah,
name.
yeah, 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 yeah. He's the one who started. He's the one who talked about the Yayo people, where the Europe. So like thousands of years ago, the European. All right, so Japanese people, like there's between China and Korea, there's people called the Yayos, Yayoi, and they're Japanese people, but they have European like features. Because you have to remember, for some odd reason, and again, I'm not trying to sound racist or anything. I'm just telling
Whoa,
you.
whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, maybe for another topic, guys. All this war stuff. Let's keep it PG here. Let's keep it PG
Another
here.
topic.
So
Another topic.
yeah, and not enough talking about that. Yeah, but thanks for that, Zach. I appreciate that, bro. Put yourself on mute.
All right, bye bye.
Thank you, bro. If no one new calls in, I'm going to go through. I'm going to ask Dee and Thomas to state if they have one more question, and go through everyone again for the last statements. If no one new calls in, I will end the stream earlier than usual. So call in right now if you want to ask Jack the janitor any question. If no one new calls in, I will end the stream early. So let me move on to D. Do you have any additional questions for Jack?
Yeah. So I have a question. In general, at least in your experience, well, I'm from America, New York specifically. If I go to Korea, how will I be treated?
You said you're from New York, right?
Yeah.
If you were walking down Times Square with your buddies, right,
Mhm.
and you saw a pink elephant with a bunch of black and white friends, the elephant was speaking fluent English,
Yeah.
and everyone was treating the elephant like it was a human, what would you think? What do you think of that elephant?
That elephant speaking English, I mean, it was definitely stand out in my opinion.
That's how you're gonna be. That's how people are gonna look at you when you first come. because they don't see you often, and then once you start speaking, they're gonna be like, oh, I wonder if he speaks English or Korean. They're gonna stare at you. They're gonna be like, oh wow, look at him, and they have no problem doing it. Again, there's no real physical hate like I need to attack this person.
Mhm.
They will stare at you. That you're gonna get that a lot, especially if you've got like really beautiful pale dark skin. You're gonna get a lot of stares.
Yeah,
Pale dark
yeah.
skin.
And you say you have dreads, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I also have dreads myself, so it's like you know like how did they like I guess were they kind of curious about hair, because I hear that like a lot of people outside of pretty much America really are often curious about brothers with dreads and stuff like that. Like how is it looked upon over there?
Yeah, they just don't know. So from girls, the
Hmm.
first question was always, "How do I wash it?" Always, "How do I wash it?" And then I'm like, "I just wash it like everybody else." Like, and they're
Right.
like, "Well, how do you do it?" And then I've got to show them my little twisting thing.
Mm,
Because I don't use wax or anything. I actually just twist it through. So I show them that.
mm,
Strangers too. I you I've had so many instances where I'm just sitting on the train, sitting
mm.
in the corner, come from work, and then a random old person next to me just starts pulling on my hair. They just start tugging on it. And I'm just like, what the fuck is with this person? I'm saying that to myself. I don't say it, you know.
Yeah.
Do you
Or
scare him off, Jack? Like, why you touching my hair for, bruv? What'd you do?
no, no, no. Because if you remember, they don't have much experience, and if you come off angry like that, they're gonna assume every fucking sorry for my language, but they're gonna assume everyone that looks like you is aggressive and angry all the time. So
Yeah.
I just laugh it off, and I'm like, oh, and then I say, oh, and they're like, oh, 한국말 잘하시네요, and then I'm like, not really. I can't really speak Korean well, and I just lie, and they're like, where, and then they'll ask where you from, and they'll do the whole that basic conversation, where you from, how long you been here, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. And then it's just a lot of that. So it's an easy icebreaker if you look different. There will be some people that don't like you for your skin color. That is a thing, but
Mm,
you won't notice them 9 out of 10 times.
yeah. All right. Dope. Dope. Yeah. Cool. Cool.
All right, thanks for that, D.
Mhm.
Before I move on to Tom's demo here, put yourself on mute, D. Yeah, I just want to say cryptocurrency is popping off today. Dogecoin is moving. Let's hope it goes to $1. I hope you guys bought some crypto after our crypto live stream yesterday. Dogecoin, oh, I'm hoping it goes to $1. If it does, I'm cashing out ASAP. I'm waiting for it to go to
Oh my
$1. But
god, this thing's at
appreciate the
40
bro.
cents.
What are you saying, bro?
This thing's at 40 cents. Jesus Christ.
40 cents or 20, is it 20 more cents? I mean, we're at $1. I'm cashing out. So I hope brothers are making money off that cryptocurrency stuff. Jack, question for you. You said it's important for brothers to have second, third income while in Korea. Is that when you don't have a good job in one of those big companies? Um, do you sorry, so if you have a big job, let's say in Samsung, is it still needed to have a second or third means of income?
No, but I would advise it anyway. I would advise not necessarily an income, but just generally speaking, I would strongly advise you look into making full use of your disposable income, getting all that sorted, because again, there is no safety net for you. Um, there isn't a plethora of jobs that you can just quit Samsung and then go work for SK Telecoms or something. Like you lose that job, chances are you're not going to find another one, or you're working as an English teacher, which they're currently reducing those jobs. The Korean government isn't really disposed to hiring as much anymore. They've kind of gone back on that. So you really need to kick yourself in gear.
You won't find another job if you lose a job in that Samsung. Why is that? Is it hard to find jobs in Korea for foreigners, that the good jobs?
Yeah, because remember, no one speaks English.
Mm.
So I mean, chances are you don't speak fluent Korean. If you speak fluent Korean, yeah, you'll have a much easier time. Um, but chances are, if you're a foreigner, you're not going to want to work at those businesses. So I mentioned before that the appeal of dating you to a Korean person is that they don't have to deal with the minutia of being with someone of their own culture, right?
Yeah.
Well, part of that is the top-down hierarchical structure. You're never going to be affected by that. Until you work for a Korean company, you're not going to be affected by that. You're never going to, like, the people that have power in these companies, they go overboard and are just crazy. Like, if you make a mistake in your job, your boss will pull you up in front of 5 of your coworkers and berate you for 15 minutes about why you suck at your job. And you can't say anything. You just have to put your head down and say, I understand, I understand, I understand. That's the stuff that Koreans and even Japanese and Chinese kind of have to deal with. And it breaks your spirit, man. It can break your confidence. It can kind of get to you. And then you go home and your dad is doing the same sort of thing. Your uncle's doing the same sort of thing. Your eldest brother's doing the same sort of thing. So you really need to try to just not have to deal with those jobs in the first place.
Yeah.
Um,
I definitely agree. I'd say definitely look at setting up some type of business in America or the UK, because again, the pound and dollars are the strongest currency in the world. Definitely have an online business or a side hustle while you're in Korea or in a different country, and of course invest in crypto stocks as well. So that's free means of income. So brothers need to definitely consider that. Thank you for that, Jack, the janitor. Thomas Demahin, do you have any last questions for Jack?
Before I ask the question to Jack, everyone's talking about cryptocurrency.
Actually, hold on, Thomas.
Go on.
If you're new to the stream, guys, can you please hit the like button? Get me up to 120 likes. We've got 113. This is free intel given to you by intelligent brothers and an intelligent brother called Jack. So please hit the like button if you've not liked already. Carry on, Thomas.
Sorry. I need to get into cryptocurrency, man. But besides that, yeah. Jack, what are the not to do's in Korea? Because I love traveling to different countries, and I just want to be self-aware of things that are quite negative. So I want to ensure that I prevent these negative types.
the common things.
Yeah, just common day-to-day general things or things not to do in Korea.
Don't squat on the ground. Like the slab squat, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah,
Don't do that. Don't sit on the floor. When you go into houses and take off your shoes, always don't even in restaurants and stuff, you'll probably have to take off your shoes. Many of the modern ones, they'll have a separate area where you can choose to sit down. When you go out drinking, you'll learn pretty quickly to not look people in the eyes when you drink. That's pretty rude. You'll learn pretty quickly that when you take a sip of your drink, you need to look at the person that's your junior. So you need to turn your head and not look at them when you're drinking. Don't be so direct. There's no need. If you have a problem with someone, just keep it to yourself. They really like to be indirect. They don't like direct confrontation. So don't really do that. And that's usually, I think that's it really. Try to speak Korean. That will get you a long way.
yeah,
So even just saying hello, that will get you a long way to breaking the ice, and they will think, oh, this person's trying, so I'll be more open.
yeah.
Because remember, they're scared. They're scared to speak English. Like it's like it gives them PTSD. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, the one thing I like to do when I'm traveling to different countries is to learn the language, so I can learn to be respectful, but also break that language barrier. Um, well, one question I have is if you're going to like a social event, how can you approach a 10 out of 10 woman? Like, what are the methods do you have to do besides being yourself?
If you're going where?
Let's say you're going to a social event
Ah,
and you want to approach a a high value woman or 10 out of 10 woman in Korea. What are the criteria to doing that?
I'd go right up to her and start talking to her.
No, no,
just do it,
no.
man. But again, you don't be so sexually aggressive. So, like in London, I would be a bit of a, I'll be a bit of a Tom, Dick, and Harry. I will be like, oh, I will tease them, like, oh, are you a big girl? You know, are you on bangs? I'll be like, within the 5 minutes of conversations, I will push hard. But in Korea and Japan, no, you don't need to do that. You can be a bit more coy. Just hello, what's up? How you doing? My name's Jack. Where you from? Da 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 da. I'm from here. Da 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 da. Get the conversation going. If she's still talking to you after 5 minutes, yeah, she's probably into you. If she's making up an excuse to bounce and she's not into you, it's really as simple as that. Um, that's all it really is, man. Approaching a 10 is no different than approaching a 4.
Cool, man. Thanks.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for the questions, Zach, Thomas, and D. I'm going to end the live stream now. No one new is called in. One more big thanks to Jack the janitor. Thank you, bro, for taking the time out and spending almost 2 hours dropping mad game regarding South Korea. I hope to have you in my panels on future streams. Before I end this call, Jack, do you have any last statements?
No, just thank you for having me. I hope I saved you guys a little bit of time or headache. Someone in the comment asked, would I prefer Japan or Korea? So what I've told people in the past is, if you can only go to one country, go to Japan. If you can only go to one East Asian country, just go Japan. They're way more open.
Yep.
There's more foreigners there. Um, they're more open to the jobs. They've accepted that they have an immigration problem, and so they're trying to open up the borders a little bit. So just go to Japan. Korea's nice and everything, but if you can only do one, just go Japan. That's a short answer.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jack's point there. And there's a lot more, although of course Japan is still predominantly Japanese. There's a lot more cultural diversity amongst the women there in Japan. You've got Brazilian Japanese women, Colombian Japanese women. You also have Korean Japanese women, Japanese women. So you've got that nice diversity, and mixed race Japanese women, half black, half Japanese. So thank you very much, Jack. Before I end the stream, guys, once again, please subscribe to my channel and make sure you click the notification bell to make sure you get every content from me, whether it's live streams, posts, or uploads. One more time, this is my Twitter page. So follow me on Twitter. Get in touch with me if you want to set up a live stream or ask me any questions regarding traveling, stocks, or crypto. That is my Twitter I've just posted. Click on it, follow me on Twitter. And here's also my IG as well, to get in touch with me as well and to keep in touch with my posts, my Instagram as well. Also, you can see my Facebook group moving along the page. I've got around 85 members there. So if you want to join my Facebook group, my private Facebook group, send me a request, go on that link, send me a request, and you will be accepted into my group. Let me just get the link for you right now. So give me a second. Jack, when you were in Japan, were you in Tokyo or Osaka?
So I did Osaka, Tokyo, and Fukuoka. Each anywhere from a month to 3 months.
Okay, and what was the best city in Japan, in your opinion, to meet women who are interested, good-looking Japanese women who are most definitely interested in brothers?
Tokyo,
Tokyo, okay. And why is that?
because there's an exodus of all the young people from the countrysides. They all go to Tokyo to try and make it. So just go Tokyo.
Okay, I heard that mostly countryside Japanese women aren't really checking for brothers. So are you saying city Japanese women who were born in the city are more likely checking for brothers?
Well, it's not just that. It's also the people that have moved from the country into the city, right? The countryside, same. I'm assuming the same. I don't know for Japan, but I'm assuming it's the same as Korea. Chances are, if you're going to the countryside, they can't date you. Like they've got families and things to deal with. Like, how are you going to find a job in the countryside? Like, women, as goofy as they are, women are all goofy, but they're not stupid. They will absolutely turn on that reptilian logic brain when it suits them. And finances is that. And if you're in the countryside, how are you going to support her financially? You don't speak the language. You don't know the people. It's a tight knit community. She'll turn on that Vulcan brain and run from you. And I assume Japan's the same. So just go to the big cities, hit them up. You'll probably find one that speaks English too. So just go to big city, dude.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Jack. So I've just posted my link to the Facebook group. Click on it and send me an invite, and I'll add you to that private Facebook group. All right, guys, hit the like button one more time if you've not already liked the video. Subscribe. Also comment as well. If you can please comment on this live stream, that will push the video out to other brothers who need this intel. I want to get my videos out to as much brothers as possible who need this intel, who need to know that it's important to have their finances right and to travel and get their passports. So make sure you comment right after this video is published. But thank you, everyone, and I will be ending the stream now, and I will see you on my next live stream. So take care, guys. See ya.